Former Hawkeye Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever will have a new head coach next season. The organization announced they have parted ways with Christy Sides.
Did Caitlin Clark get Indiana Fever's head coach Christy Sides fired? As crazy as that sounds, based on recent dramatic changes surrounding the Indiana Fever leadership, one could ask if one of the greatest shining stars of college basketball, Caitlin Clark, could have played a part in these drastic changes. Welcome back to today's episode of Outside the Lane, where we're dissecting the events of recent weeks at the Indiana Fever and why it seems Clark's name is inescapable when it comes to the team's future.
A new team president in the door, a new general manager in the door, and now a new head coach in the door as Christy Sides was shown the door.
Well, guess what? The Fever didn't just fire Coach Christy Sides. They cleared the house. This was not just a question of removing a coach who could not change the Sides' fortunes fast enough. This was a total wipeout that removed the team's president, general manager, and many others. It is the type of massive shift that makes us sure that the Fever's leadership wants a new direction, a new era. And if that sounds drastic, that's because it is. Leadership changes on this level are not common in professional sports, especially in the WNBA, where teams tend to give coaches and executives time to find their footing. So when a franchise like the Fever makes a move this bold, you have to wonder, why now? What does it look like for them ahead? They likely want to overhaul their image as Indiana from top to bottom, perhaps to be ready for a turning point.
These are the times LeBron James shocked the world.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is LeBron James from downtown.
And if you follow sports beyond the WNBA, this kind of high-stakes move might feel familiar. In the NBA, the NFL, or even in European soccer, franchises have been known to overhaul their leadership when they see an opportunity to secure a superstar. Think about LeBron James' return to Cleveland back in 2014. The Cavaliers knew they had a chance to bring LeBron home, and they made significant roster and coaching changes to accommodate his vision. They even traded their #1 draft pick that year for Kevin Love, all to build a championship-caliber team.
Breakaway for the Cavs. Gets it to LeBron!
Around LeBron. That restructuring paid off when LeBron led them to their first NBA championship 2 years later.
Everybody contributed. I love how we got it done. That's all it's about. Hey, great team win. Let's keep it.
Indiana Fever got up to a tricky start to start the season because...
Now, for those of you who monitor the NBA, you might be noticing some familiar patterns here. Quite typical and natural to witness how in the NBA teams make changes to the leadership all over relying on the impact or even on having the impact of a star player. Think about it. LeBron James has almost single-handedly set new standards regarding what it means to be a player influencer. As soon as he enters a team, he is considered the focal point and players adapt depending on the versatility of the player and his predilections. He has meddled with the coaching staff roster and front office at one point or another in his career.
And I was like, what do they feed the players in Texas? Well, what are they feeding Caitlin Clark? Because there we go with another behind the back and fancy finish.
And that begs the question, could Caitlin Clark, who is still in college, be commanding such influence, let alone even indirect influence in the WNBA? In some ways, this may seem far-fetched, but in light of Clark's popularity, marketability, and power to bring fans to IUP games, then Clark is already redefining women's basketball. Sure, she has not publicly announced her decision on the WNBA draft, but the teams are keeping an eye on her. And if there's any player out there who could motivate an entire franchise to create drastic changes across organizational leadership, then Clark could be it.
Really struggling right now. It's just been a lot. This is different than anything we've ever experienced. And just appreciate the fact that they keep showing up and putting the work in to get better.
Now, is Caitlin Clark somehow primarily responsible for the team leadership changes within the Indiana Fever? Probably not. But is she a factor? Absolutely. She is the kind of player every franchise wishes to have, or could only hope to have. She is almost setting trends in the WNBA without being drafted there yet. And Indiana Fever's actions may be an indication of how far they are prepared to go to get ready for her. A full house cleaning could be the Fever's way of telling Clark and any other prospective talent a message. They're here to stay.
I have chills watching this team. It is a complete completely different motor this year. Just the determination, the passion, the willingness to win and get out there and make a play.
For a second, let's take it back and see how Coach Christy Sides began her tenure with the Fever. Now, to be fair, it wasn't all that bad. The preseason began with much expectation for Coach Sides, and that she sought to make the team improve on defense in addition to speeding up the pace of the game. And early on first, one could find signs of a strategy that held potential. The guys were working very hard. The team looked significantly more cohesive on the court, and they won a few good games. But the WNBA is a tough league, especially for a team that missed the playoffs for years. The Fever simply could not build the nucleus, which requires continual and uncompromising performances to turn such sparks into consecutive victories.
They have clinched the 6th seed in the 2024 WNBA playoffs.
It is hardly possible to say that the results obtained under Sides were better than the previous situation at best. The team was still leaky on defense and failed to hold a lot of leads to finish the fourth quarter, like any serious playoff contender in a franchise system that is still reeling from a fall. Pressure to contend and to do it quickly is very much there. And in today's sports world, that kind of pressure results not in small-scale alterations, but dramatic changes, which is well illustrated in the case of the Fever and their front office.
I see a lot of players wanting to go, in this offseason, a lot of players are going to want to go to the Fever.
So here's the question on everyone's mind. Which free agent will the Fever look for next? Some names have already been going around, and they include Stephanie White, and you guessed it, Caitlin Clark's current college coach, Lisa Bluter. Every one of these coaches will be offering something exclusive to the board's desire, and every decision will indicate a diverse course for the franchise. Indiana's next hire could potentially be the stepping stone to a successful organization or a point of no return.
There's a hunger and a desire to win, but there's also something that's very poised and calming about doing it at home with the people that you love and the people that you want to go to battle with every single day.
If your pick was on Stephanie White, then you won the bingo. Only recently, Indiana Fever announced Stephanie White as the new head coach. If you're a fan of the WNBA, she'll be remembered for conquering the final season and taking the WNBA's Indiana Fever to the finals in 2015, but missed the championship. She is well organized in Indiana, and she is a tough coach who exercises extravagant intelligence in basketball mechanics. She is known to always adjust her plays to maximize her players' potential. Hiring her back may be the best approach to rebuilding that foundation. A candidate who knows what the Fever requires to dominate in this league. If anything for the Fever, White is the safe option, a known quantity that could help the team regain its status on the map. But is she the sort of woman they should be choosing? So what's at stake here? Nothing more than just the one-season record. For Indiana, this new hire could be the first shot at starting a dynasty, an opportunity to go from a startup team that has struggled to the team that exemplifies the future of the WNBA. Is Stephanie White the person who will change their culture and mentality, hire strong and talented players, and of course, win? It is something they have an opportunity to prepare for themselves, provided they have a coach like White. However, whether they are willing to build their future based on a leap towards innovation, or if they'll choose to establish a new path based on a consecutive approach, that remains uncertain.
Yeah, I think we play an exciting style. I think people enjoy watching, up and down, high, fast pace, a lot of scoring, a lot of threes. And so I think we play a great style.
So here's the million-dollar question. There was also a question of whether hiring Lisa Bluter as a head coach could open the door for Caitlin Clark to join the Fever in the first place. Imagine the impact. This woman understands how to work with Bluter and Clark, how to make her perform at her best, and they respect each other. She concentrates and focuses more on the actual development of the player she has taken time to refine, making Clark one of the most dominant basketball players in college basketball today. This brings up a rather interesting point. Were Fever to hire Bluter today, another legendary player coach teaming would be a thing in women's basketball. However, now we can't understand what specific intentions Clark has. She still can opt for college, though her WNBA prospects remain to be seen. But if Indiana Fever were to secure Bluter, the signal would be loud and clear. It tells them it's time to support a star, to bring that kind of backing and stability for a player like Clark into the league. And think of the narrative. The Fever could turn from a franchise struggling in mediocrity to one of the most attractive teams in the league, all because of a coaching pick. With Bluter at Indiana Fever and Clark potentially taking the reins, the team could be well on its way to being a contending team. It would be revolutionary, not only for Indiana, but the whole league, because it is practically very difficult.
Here to the Fever, like, Indiana is just such a basketball state. Like, I really couldn't picture a better place for myself to start my career.
So, what do you think? We're talking about a franchise that's willing to completely reset just for the chance of creating something truly special. Imagine Indiana Fever becoming the WNBA's version of a dynasty, a team that fans can rally around, a team that Clark could make her own. But maybe you see things differently. Would this be the right move for the Fever? Or should they look for fresh blood in coaching and let the chips fall where they may with Clark's decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you think Clark's arrival in the WNBA is going to spark a whole new era for women's basketball, let us know. And if you're ready to see the Fever take center stage, make sure you're subscribed. We'll be following this story closely, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next.